options for maths students and graduates. And thank you, Laura, for starting the recording of the session for me. So I'm just going to pass over to Taiba now, who's going to tell you a little bit about who's on the call and what to expect in this session.
Thanks, Catherine. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm just going to run through and who is here today to facilitate and speak. So in terms of facilitators, we have Yulin and Wenjing, who are our Inclusive Careers Education Ambassadors for the Maths Department. If you don't know who the Inclusive Careers Education Ambassadors are, I'm going to introduce them in a second. But yeah, they're both going to be the two people that will help ask your questions to the panels and kind of smooth things out. And then, of course, my name is Taiba, as I said, I'm Inclusive Careers Project Officer, and then Catherine and Laura as well. They've just spoken. Our wonderful careers consultants are also here today to make sure everything goes smoothly. And then we have our panelists / speakers. So I'm going to let them all introduce themselves later on in the call, but I'll just quickly run through who's here today. So we have Hazel Lewis, who's a writer at the Institute of Mathematics and its Applications. We have Jessica Luck from Gradcracker. We have Nevin Abraham, Marketing Effectiveness Manager at Nationwide Building Society. We have Hugh Evans, who is a company director at the Advisors Toolbox. Fauzi Riki, I hope I pronounced your name right, please correct me if I'm wrong, Policy Advisor, Bank of England, and we have Claudia, who is a Senior Lecturer in Statistics from King's College London. Mind going to the next slide, or shall I just take control? Okay, yeah, just to quickly run through today's session, I'm going to introduce the Inclusive Careers Education Ambassadors, and then there'll be some slides from the Careers and Employability team in general, some provisions that we've got going on in autumn. Then we'll have a little presentation from the Institute of Mathematics and its Applications, and also from Gradcracker. And then we'll get down to the panels, introducing them themselves, and then after that we'll have the session for Q&A. And then towards the end, this is an optional thing, but we'll have informal breakout spaces if you want to present yourself. Sorry, is my internet breaking up?
No, you're all good, Taiba.
Okay, cool. Sorry, everyone just froze for a sec because I thought my internet. And also, yeah, we have the Q&A box at the top beside the chat box. We'd really encourage you to ask your questions in the Q&A box so that one, it helps us to read the questions easier. Two, if there's a question that someone else has asked and you also are interested in that question, you can give it a thumbs up so we know which questions are more popular. Or if you want to raise your hand, your virtual hand, and come on mic, you're welcome to do so as well. So yeah, whichever one you want to do, you're welcome to do that. Okay, lastly, just going to introduce the Inclusive Careers Education Ambassador Program. So the ambassadors are basically 10 King's College London students from the NMES faculty, and they're hired to co-create careers education activities that are inclusive, they're welcoming, they're accessible, and they're non-discriminating. So the ambassadors are basically 2 ambassadors from each department at King. So today we have Yulin and Wenjing. You can see their pictures down there. They're from the Maths department, are lovely ambassadors. They're going to facilitate today's event. And then also something else that they're doing this term as part of their role is they're making these video reels for the maths students that are essentially focused on different sectors that maths students can go into. There'll be short form videos, and yeah, they're in the works, but we're hoping that they'll be completed and ready to post by the end of term. And when they do come out, we will let you know. Another thing that we do as part of the ambassador program is that we do something called the NMES Careers Guide every single year. This is a guide that's made for students and made by students. And essentially, it's a signpost to different careers resources that the Careers and Employability team do. And you can find it on KEATS. We update it every year, and we really recommend you to check out this year's one as well. We've added some new things if you haven't done so already. I'll pass it back to Catherine to go through the careers resources.
Thank you, Taiba. So I'm just going to take a moment to inform you a little bit about some of the resources and activities that King's Careers and Employability are doing, so that you know about our service and that we are here to support you during your time here at King's. So we have some really great digital resources available to you. Our digital careers service on KEATS, there is a lot of information on there covering all aspects of careers. So whether you're at the very start of your journey and you're thinking, goodness, I don't know what I want to do, where do I even start? There's information to help you with starting to explore what might be possible and looking at what options you could have. There's also resources to help you with thinking about gaining experience, doing applications, all sorts of information on there. So it's a great place you can go as a reference point to understand a little bit more about where you are in your career journey. There's also event recordings on there. We've got some digital tools that you can access, such as our CV checker and Shortlist Me, our video interviewing tool. So you can use these resources in your own time. As Taiba mentioned, our NMES Careers Guide is a really great starting point to help you understand about our service and what's out there and how you can navigate it during your time here as a student. King's Career Connect is our portal where you can book career appointments. So you can have a one-to-one guidance appointment with a member of the careers team, with an application advisor. If you've got an interview coming up, you can have a practice interview with us. So through King's Career Connect, you can book career appointments, you can sign up to events. There's lots of events going on throughout the year with employers. You can search for jobs and experiences on there as well. And also I would encourage you to sign up for our newsletter so you can hear what we're doing and what things are going on for your particular faculty. So definitely try and get signed up on King's Career Connect. #MyNextSteps are our series of education career workshops, and these run throughout the year. They cover topics such as what do I want for my career after university? How can I search for opportunities? How do I network? How do I do applications? They're run by the career consultants. So I would again encourage you to check those out and sign up to workshops that you think are going to be useful to you. Careers Plus is some additional career-related activities and support. It's for students who identify as disabled or who may come from a historically underrepresented group in higher education. So if you think you might be eligible for our Careers Plus programme, I would highly recommend you go and check it out. You can gain access to longer one-to-one appointments, some ring-fenced schemes and bespoke digital services. Our work-based learning team also run an Insights programme. This is open to final year undergraduates and postgraduate research students. They have some virtual consultancy projects coming up that are now open for registration. So again, that's a great opportunity to engage in a project, get some experience that you will be able to use as you move forward. And when you're writing applications, it's a great thing to be able to put on your CV. So if that is open to you, I would encourage you to go and learn more about those projects and see if that's something you can sign up for. Okay. That was a really quick run through of careers because I want to kind of move on to the main part of our event. But do, if you have questions for us, pop them in the chat and we can answer them about where you can find out more about our services. I'm going to hand over now to Hazel Lewis, who's going to talk about the Institute of Mathematics and its applications.
Hi. So am I right in thinking that I just click take control so I can move the slides? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. That's amazing.
Perfect.
Okay, so yeah, hi everybody. My name is Hazel Lewis and I'm the writer for the Maths Careers website, which is run by the Institute of Mathematics and its Applications. So I've just got a few minutes to talk to you today. So I was really thinking about, what are a couple of things that I could share with you that I think would be useful for you. So everybody knows now that mathematicians are everywhere. They're throughout the economy, they're throughout academia, industry, not-for-profit. And that's one of the great things of doing a maths degree, is that there are so many options available. But it can also feel really confusing in the sense that you can feel unsure which path you should choose. And so the first point that I really want to share with you today is to start off by investigating a really wide range of options in your initial search, just so that you know that you've got a good idea of these different options that are available. Because everybody knows about finance, about teaching, and they are fantastic career paths that we would, totally recommend. But there's lots of other things as well. And, not all maths undergraduates know about the different options that are available. And so, yeah, I'd really just encourage you in this kind of initial investigation to know that you've got a good sense of all the different things that are out there. So here are a few ideas. So got meteorology, cyber security, medical statistics, data science, which is a big growing area. Being an entrepreneur, so two people that I graduated with from my maths degree have gone on to be entrepreneurs. Mathematical biology, so working in the life sciences, doing something like modelling cancer treatments. Space careers, so this is another growing industry, and there's a whole website, spacecareers.uk, which I'd encourage you to look at. Then we've got the civil service. So one aspect to that is the government operational research service. There's also government statistical service and other areas as well. Then there's economics, so some of these areas you might need to do further study to enter, others you can enter directly upon graduating. And then finally, make sure you think about a PhD. Okay, so even if you don't go on to do that, make sure you've considered it, because studying a PhD, it's not just pure maths, there's also applied maths and lots of interdisciplinary PhDs now. And as part of the IMA, I've met some amazing researchers. So they're looking at everything from restoring ancient manuscripts using maths, developing tools to detect plastic landmines, researching into space, and so on. So, make sure that is an option that you've at least taken a look at. And these are just some of the ideas. So we've got an article which has got 75 jobs you could do with a maths degree. So have a look through it. Just make sure you're aware of the broad range of jobs that are out there. Okay, my second encouragement to you would to think about joining a professional body such as the IMA, so Institute of Maths and its Applications. So there's lots of advantages to joining a professional body, but I'm just going to highlight the main one for you at the moment, which is the networking opportunities. So IMA members are spread throughout the economy. So you can see from this pie chart that they work in lots and lots of different places. And so it's a kind of unique mathematical community where you can meet people who are in the early stages of their career, but also ranging all through to people who are kind of world experts in their field. And there's an early career mathematicians networking group, and they put on lots of events. A few are in person and then lots of them are online. And, so this month they've got what is an operational researcher panel event. So you can just go along, meet those panelists, ask them questions informally. So I can't really think of any kind of similar community where you could meet such a diverse range of people working in like charity, government, academia and industry. And it doesn't cost a lot. So if you're a student, it's only £10 a year. And then even when you graduate, it's a very inexpensive thing to do. Okay, so here's an example of someone who's a member of the IMA. So Carrie Liu, healthcare consultant, and it's an example of an area that you might not consider that maths is used in. And so you can meet people like Carrie, and ask them about how did they get into their career, and what steps did they take, what do they like about it, what's it actually like working in that area. Okay, so thanks for listening. Obviously, I'm going to be on the panel, so you can ask questions later on and also in the breakout rooms. But if you want further information, there's the IMA website, which has got all the information about membership. But also there's the Maths Careers website, which has got profiles of people who've done maths degrees or other related degrees, and lots of other different articles as well. So thank you very much for listening.
Hazel, I think
Hazel.
I'm next. Oh, Catherine, yeah, go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're going to hand over to Jess now from GradCracker.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And thank you, Hazel. That was I found that really interesting myself. I was like, oh, I didn't realise you did all those great things. So hi, everyone. Just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Jess. I am Marketing Director here at GradCracker. Hopefully you will have heard of GradCracker before. If you haven't heard of GradCracker, we are the UK's careers website for STEM students. So we have more employers, more opportunities than ever before looking to recruit a student like yourself. So the great thing about the GradCracker website is that we are really geared up for students that are thinking of entering the different STEM industries that are out there. And we are here to support you kind of throughout your job hunting journey. So whether you're a first year student or a final year student, we are more than just a jobs board. We've got so many resources, so many tools, so many different areas of advice that we can kind of support you to help you to make the decision. And as Hazel mentioned, and as she covered really, really well in her presentation, there are so many different industries that a maths student can go into. So what we want you to do is to start to think about, taking control of your career and really exposing yourself to all the different options that are out there. And GradCracker will definitely be part of that journey for you to discover and research and explore. And when you are ready to go on to apply to those positions as well. So a couple of things I want to quickly show you around the GradCracker website that could help you to start to discover those employers and those opportunities. So something I would definitely recommend you all to start to do when you're thinking about the next steps of your career is to get organised. The more that you get organised, it's going to help you then to take some of the stress out of the process, because as we've said already, there are so many different industries, there are so many different opportunities out there that you can be applying to now or in the future. So the more you start to explore and discover and get organised with your job hunting journey, the more successful that you're going to become as well, because you're going to be aware of those employers that are opening up for applications. You're going to be aware of those deadlines that are starting to come through. And then when you are ready to apply, you're going to be in more of a kind of a calm place to put your application in. You're not going to be firing off different applications that are untailored, untargeted, and not very good quality. So one of the first things I definitely recommend you to do when you are seriously thinking about the next steps of your career is to actually activate your student dashboard. So by activating your dashboard on GradCracker, because of the years experience that we have working with maths students like yourself, we've created these 4 key features that are going to help you to get organised with your job hunting. So first of all, we've got the follow feature. So that's perfect when you come across an organisation that you like on GradCracker. You can hit the follow button and we will then keep you up to speed with the GradCracker alert service about any new opportunities that employer has and also those imminent deadlines. Something as a bit of a side note, something we are seeing in the different industries across the UK at the moment, and in terms of the graduate and undergraduate recruitment market, we are seeing quite a lot of these employers starting to close out their opportunities a little bit earlier than previous years. So if you are really thinking about getting a placement opportunity, whether it be a summer placement or a year in industry, or you're looking for those graduate opportunities, this really, really is the time to be getting your applications in. Then we've got the shortlist feature, which is perfect for when you do start going to apply to those positions. It basically means you can keep a track of where you're at in the application process with that organisation. You can always refer back to the job description, and also you can make those key application notes as well. And then we've got the Grad Cracker webinar series. So the Grad Cracker webinar series for some of you could be a really great place for you to start to discover those different industries that you could be working in. As Catherine mentioned when she did her intro, some of you might be sat there now thinking, I have no idea. I don't know where I want to go. I don't know where my passions and interests lie. So again, the more that you start to get organised with the events that are going on at the moment, the different employers that are looking to receive applications from you, the more that you can then make those decisions on where your passions and interests do lie. So something that we do here at Grad Cracker, every Thursday, 2 till 3, we'll run an exclusive insight into a different organisation each week, where you can hear directly from the recruiter, and also you can hear from current grads and interns on what life is like at that organisation. And we often get KCL students featuring on these webinars, talking about their experiences now in industry, whether they're out on placement or doing a graduate job. These sessions are all recorded as well, so you can watch them back. You can download them. So if you're out and about on the go, commuting to uni or doing your part-time job or whatever you're doing on an evening, you can listen to these sessions, and you can then, like I say, get a really good insight into what these companies' application processes are all about. And then when you are ready to apply, really show off about the research that you've done and why you are their ideal candidate. Remember, when you are using Grad Cracker, that you can then really start to drill down into those opportunities that are relevant to you. So the great thing about the Grad Cracker website is really geared up for STEM students. So these employers that are coming to Grad Cracker are looking to recruit a math students like yourself. And this is something ultimately I want you to all take away from this session today, because you're going to hear from so many amazing people that there is no industry out there that you can't go into. So when you are going through the Grad Cracker search, explore every single employer. As you can see here, 3 completely different organisations working across 3 completely different industries looking to recruit a math student like yourself. So if anything, start to use Grad Cracker as often as you can. Start to familiarise yourself with those features and those tools that can help and support you to get organised, to become a successful job hunter, and really start to be aware of the avenues and the really fantastic career that you can have as a math student. Don't just pigeonhole yourself and just think of the one industry. Really give yourself time to explore and discover all the avenues that are open to a student like yourself. I'll stop there and then I'll hand back to Catherine.
Thank you so much, Jen. Just going to quickly skip through to where we are now. And then I'm going to hand over to our inclusive career education ambassadors, Yulin and Wenxing, who are going to ask our panel to introduce themselves. So I will over to you guys.
Hi, I'm Yulin, and I'm a third-year Maths with Statistics student, and I'm one of the ICA ambassadors and Wenjing. And today we got 6 panels here. And maybe Nevin, do you want to start introducing yourself? Because I couldn't see this on my screen.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks
Yeah.
for that. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be back at King's. I'm Nevin. I work at Nationwide Building Society as a marketing effectiveness manager. I've been at Nationwide for just over 7.5 years across different roles, using all things. I'm very passionate about all things analytics. My background prior to being at Nationwide is I'm the class of 2015, so I studied BSc Maths at uni at King's, at the Strand campus, did further study, and then ended up with the Nationwide gig. And as I said, been there for 7.5 years across different roles. My first 5 years was pretty much using programming languages to really understand about our members and the channels that they use. And then for the last 2 roles, I've been looking to understand our marketing. So you may have seen our recent ads and our recent marketing across TVs and cinema. So my role is to look at what's the effect of that and can we optimize that. I have looking after a team of 2, one of which has just recently was an industrial placement student, and they were able to really get to grips with our data. So lots of opportunities, as I'm sure you'll hear from the rest of the panel. But that's my introduction.
Thank you, Nevin. Paul, do you want to introduce us about the Advisors Toolbox?
Hello, yes. So I'm Hugh Evans. I'm the company director of the Advisors Toolbox. Now, the Advisors Toolbox is a startup, so really I'm in the sort of entrepreneurship space. I'll sort of take any questions that, if you like, that are about entrepreneurship rather than other career paths. Before this, I was working for Citizens Advice as a sort of small scale legal advisor. And really my company is aimed at those advisors, making products for those advisors. I graduated in 2017 with a mathematics degree.
Great, thanks. Cloyda, and I believe many students in the room has already met Cloyda. Do you want to shortly introduce yourself and then?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm delighted to be here today with you, although this was, I must confess, was very last minute, but I'm very happy to have joined. So I'm a senior lecturer in statistics, and my field of expertise is in the modeling of extreme and rare events. So I developed new methods for that are driven by applications, really. So this has required me to study a lot of probability theory and a lot of statistical theory. And between the years of 2017 and 2022, I held a UKR Innovation Fellowship, which means that I was essentially funded by taxpayers' money to do research that had impact, and still has ongoing industrial impact. So I was working for the energy sector mainly, and I was collaborating with EDF Energy in the UK. You might have heard of the nuclear power plant Hinkley Point C, and I was involved in the safety assessment for their nuclear fleet. In terms of calculating the risk of very extreme events happening at the same time, like a combination of very heavy precipitation in the rainfall and strong winds from a certain direction that can damage, that can pose serious hazards to a nuclear power plant. Yeah, and I think that's it from me. Happy to field any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Cloyda. That's amazing. Wenjing, do you want to take over for the rest, and then we can go to the panel section?
Of course. Thank you, Elin. And can we? Is Fawzi here? Like,
Yes.
do you mind to give just a little bit introduction about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So, hi everybody. I'm Fawzi. I studied at King's from 2016 to 2021. I did my undergraduate in computer science, and then did the graduate diploma in mathematics, which King's used to offer. I don't think they do anymore. And then the master's in maths at King's. And then after that, I started at the Bank of England as a data scientist on a graduate program. So working with kind of big data on large data sets of transactions, or kind of other policy relevant work in the Bank of England. And then now I work as a policy analyst on the Digital Pound project, which is looking at the case for a UK central bank digital currency. So my work now isn't really as data oriented, it's more policy and economics oriented, but we do have some situations where we have to apply some data skills. Yeah, looking forward to answering any questions people have.
Thank you so much. And we have Hazel from Institute of Mathematics.
Hi, yeah, so my name is Hazel, and I, as I've said in my presentation, yeah, I'm the writer for the Maths Careers website with the Institute of Maths and its Applications, but I've also over the years done other projects with them. So, for example, interviewing experts about their work and communicating that with the general public. And originally I did an MMath degree at the University of Warwick, and graduated now quite a long time ago, but that's also, you know, given me a sense of what the people I graduated with have gone on to do. You know, now they're kind of 10, 15 years into their career, and, you know, yeah, what the opportunities that a maths degree can lead to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, we have Jess here just to introduce again, maybe.
Yeah, hi everyone. As mentioned, my name's Jess. I'm marketing director here at GradCracker. I always say in these sessions, I wish I was a student like yourself. I wish I did a STEM degree, and I wish I went to King's. Unfortunately, not. But yeah, because obviously I get to see on a daily basis the fantastic things that you guys get to do in your careers. But yeah, I do really enjoy working for GradCracker. I'm really proud of the GradCracker website. It's a platform which is growing every single year, and we've got some amazing employers now looking to recruit students like yourself. So yeah, hopefully you will start to use GradCracker after this session.
Thank you so much. And shall we move to the panel session?
Yeah, okay, I can pick for the first question I saw popping in the Q&A section. And there's one question coming, and when trying to land a job in data analysis, and what sort of projects outside the university did you do to stand out? I think it's a general question for anyone who was related. And just a quick reminder that if you have any question, like specifically for one of the panel, just you can just write it down. Yeah. Do anyone want to take the first question?
Well, I can answer this from my experience, although this might be underwhelming. In terms of kind of external projects that I've done, I partook in the King's hackathon, but beyond that, nothing really. I think that, you know, I don't know what it's like for tech companies, but when I applied for the role here, that wasn't really something they asked about. But I understand it can be something that they ask about at different companies. But I would stress that probably don't put too much pressure on yourselves to feel that you have to have 1,000,001 external projects in the GitHub with whatever 50,000 views and so on. It's that tends to be the exception, not the rule. And even then, that doesn't necessarily reflect into how good you might perform in an organization, because it has more to do with working with other people rather than kind of projects of your own.
And I think we have one hands up.
I think it gives me and Wenjin and I think Nevin.
Yeah, I was just going to agree with what Fawzi was saying earlier. I think it's, you know, it's the transferable skills that's required to help land jobs. So certainly from my perspective, my first 5 years was quite a data oriented role. It's quite a program heavy role. In terms of what I did outside uni to get prepared for it, I did. I tried to look at data projects. So looking at placements where I can analyze data and just get a bit of experience using data. But of course, you'll also learn that on your role when you're learning your stats packages or your stats licenses. And as Fawzi was saying, I think it really depends on the role. So whilst I learned a programming language, my first 5 years at my job was a very different programming language. So you will still learn the job. So employers are really looking for your transferable skills to help land you that.
Okay, thank you so much. And we have the second question asking as a general question as well, but it's about starting a new company. So when starting a new company, what is more important, ensuring you have enough capital to keep the business running, or making sure you stay true to your initial idea or dream for the company?
Shall I take this one? Yeah. So I would say it's always more important to make sure you have the capital. And the reason for this is that if you don't have the money in the company to keep yourself going, from whatever source that might be, whether it's, you know, venture capital, angel investors, your own money, revenue money, you always have to keep in mind that your dream was never going to become more than a dream unless you have that capital in place. and a lot of companies have to change their idea of what they want to do, or change their idea of how they want to do it, in order to stay profitable and or become profitable and stay realistic about what they're doing. Often initial ideas are not realistic. I've seen a lot of startups that their initial ideas amounted to very little. That doesn't mean that the startup has to fail. It just means you pivot and you do something slightly different. There's this there's a saying in the startup industry, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. And really, the emphasis is on the last part. So yeah, that would be my take on that particular issue.
Thank you, Paul. We got the other question coming up, and I think it's a general one for everyone. And what skills or knowledge from your previous field or university have you found unexpectedly valuable in your current role? Does anyone want to add in to this one? Yes, please.
I can maybe answer this a little bit. So I came from a computer science background. After I finished my undergrad, I'd initially expected to either do a master's in computer science or in economics, maybe, but kind of just became attracted to maths. And at the time, King's had the graduate diploma, which was basically like a one-year program for STEM grads who didn't do maths to be able to effectively qualify for the master's. And then what I found doing that and then doing the master's, I think, was, computer science is a quantitative STEM subject, but the way you're taught to think in mathematics is really a significant notch above that in terms of kind of systemic thinking. And even in my role now, in situations where I don't have any maths or data science or any kind of real analytical, in a technical way, work, I find that having that ability to think about problems in a way that's a bit mathematical has really helped me break down kind of sophisticated, complex problems in a way that I can see other people around me who come from, let's say, economics or computer science backgrounds maybe have a little bit less of. So it really is a kind of invaluable skill that I think employers are starting to see the value of more and more. I see it all around when they want to hire specifically math grads, because they see that you do get this thing, but you have to balance it with people skills and the ability to kind of meet deadlines and work with other people and so on, of course.
Thank you so much. And we have a question that probably we can go through by the order, maybe. So the question is, how did each of you initially get into your job? Yes, Miss Claudia.
Sorry, it just dawned on me. I just like to chime in maybe Eric's comment, because by learning maths, you are really learning a universal language that any other mathematician can understand, and you can communicate very easily with a person with just a minimal familiarity with mathematics, and create new bonds and build trust, which is so important in job relations. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so let's maybe get to the question, like, how did each of you initially get into your job? And anyone wants to go first, or shall we go by order? Okay, so then let's just go by order. Maybe Nevin, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I got into my job. So after I graduated from King's, I did further study. So I studied applied applicable mathematics. I found trying to get the grad job quite initially challenging. It's very competitive at the time. So how I initially got into it was lots of applications, lots of, I'm sure you can all relate when you're all applying at this sort of time for different, whichever scheme you're applying for. And initially how I got into it is applying for different roles. And it took multiple times to get into it, but eventually I got onto what's called an entry-level role. So it's quite different to a grad scheme. Grad scheme is quite structured, formal training where you have sort of roughly around 2 or 3 years. Mine was quite an entry-level role where you work your way up, so you learn the job, and it's each have got their pros and cons. You can definitely learn so much from it, and I've worked my way up from there. So pretty it was definitely a competitive environment, and the advice I would give to you is all of you on the call is please make sure you always try and don't let anything stop you. There are so many companies out there, as we saw earlier, in terms of the industries or the jobs that you can do in the presentation that Hazel was delivering. There's so many careers out there, and what I would say is it's really important to try and widen your perspective. And when you are applying for those lots of applications, don't make sure you keep your options open. That's how I'd say. But yes, I got in through an entry-level role.
Thank you so much. And Hugh?
Hi, yes. So, I mean, basically, I decided to start the company. I mean, it's not, this perhaps isn't one's quite so relevant for me, but yeah, I discussed with my family and my a close friend about starting the company, and yeah, we decided to sort of set it up and start doing something. I had an idea for a product that I thought I could code, and I managed to bash that out before the company was founded. So yeah, that's really the answer to that question from my point of view.
Thank you. And Claudia?
Well, I'm not sure if you want to hear about me because I stayed on in academia. Probably you just want to be let off and go away. Yeah, I remember I stayed on by choice, actually. I remember that at the time I finished my degree in Lisbon, and back then we had a 5-year undergraduate course, and so it was like a master, undergraduate and master at the same time. And I remember then I applied for lots of jobs, and I was invited to stay at the same university and start teaching. So I started as just after my undergraduate. And at the time I got offered a job in Accenture, the consultancy company, the financial. And today, disbelief, I declined, and I prefer to stay on in academia. And it's been a journey until King's since 2020. Before that, I was at the University of Reading, where I had quite an exposure to environmental aspects. So I still work with people in hydrology and meteorology due to my line of work in the modeling of extreme events. So that's been rather a fulfilling experience because I really like to answer very practical problems. Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
I guess.
Thank you. And Fozzie?
Yeah, so like I said, I did my computer science undergrads and then the master's in maths. I became at the time quite interested in just pure maths, and I considered applying for some PhD programs. I applied for one at Queen Mary and got in, but kind of on algebraic geometry and things of that nature. But I think I figured out at the time that I didn't want to continue in academia, at least for the time being, and kind of wanted to try, working, right? What that would be like. Actually, the Bank of England grad scheme was the first role I applied for. I'd always kind of had an interest in economics as well. So when I got that, even though I applied for a couple of other things, especially data roles in other private sector banks, I thought that especially since this is a bit more of an academic type of place, this would have suited me more, because working here, obviously you are working, but you're a bit more in touch with research and academia in that sense. So ended up taking the grad scheme here, and I worked as a data scientist for a year and a half in the bank, and then moved over to the Digital Pound project, the CBDC team. And here I've just been doing policy work, so no data work really, but it's been really interesting.
Cool, thank you. And Hazel?
Hi, yeah. So after I graduated from the University of Warwick, I applied for a job at the University of Leeds, which was in communicating maths. So at that time, there was a real shortage of people that were studying maths. And so, yeah, it was a government funded project to encourage more people to study maths. And the job wasn't aimed at new graduates. So what I did was I emailed them and I said, would you be interested in someone that's just graduated? And they said yes, go on and apply. So I guess in the piece of advice out of that would be that if you do see a job where you think you might have some of the skills, that you could get in touch with them and see whether they would be interested in a new graduate, so if you're not just looking at graduate schemes. And then from there I've gone on, done lots of other maths communication projects, teacher training, and now I actually work freelance with the IMA and with other organisations as a writer. Okay.
Thank you. And we have Jess.
Yeah, again, not as relevant, but I suppose I'm a classic example of thinking I wanted to do one thing and then changing my mind and then doing something else. So, yeah, when I was much younger, thinking I wanted to do fashion and things like that, and then deciding actually, no, this isn't the area for me. So, going and working at Gradcracker and having quite a big element of my career at this organisation, and working for a smaller company as well, has meant that I've been able to move up the ladder a lot quicker. So yeah, becoming marketing director within 10 years is quite an achievement. But then, something I would say to students all the time, it's another benefit maybe working for a smaller organisation, getting that direct rapport with the MD of the company, working very closely with him, getting that experience from him has meant that, I could climb the ladder a lot quicker and maybe have that exposure that maybe I wouldn't have got in a larger organization. So yeah, I know my experience personally probably won't relate to you all, but yeah, I think one of the things I would say is just consider all options. And when you are at the early stage of your career, just be open to everything that's out there, because you never know where you're going to end up in 10, 15 years time. And I think, maybe my career maybe is an example of that. I didn't expect that I'd be doing this. And it wasn't a driver for me personally at the beginning.
Thank you so much. And yes, Claudia, do you have anything else to that?
Yeah, maybe a follow-on on what Jessica just said. Yeah, do consider lots of options, but at the same time, if things do not play out the way you had imagined, maybe just an opportunity. Maybe it wasn't meant to be, and something and surprisingly better might come along because the previous one didn't materialize.
Okay, thank you.
And hi, Wendy, I'm going to take over for the next question. The next one coming up is for you. What did you do before the Advisors Toolbox, and what motivated you to go into a more entrepreneurial career?
Yeah, so actually I was working for Citizens Advice, the advice charity, as a local sort of advisor for several years. I'd done voluntary work for them before I left university, and they offered me a job as soon as I finished, as soon as they could take me away from studies. So that's what I was doing, and what I found is that they basically, certainly at that time, things have changed since, but at that time they really didn't have any decent technology for their advisors to use to help them, just do their jobs. They just about had a CRM system. In fact, I worked on 3 different CRM systems that they rolled out one after the other because they were trying to get a good one. And but that was the extent of their technology, and I felt that the sort of technology used in other call centers and in other situations could be applied to their workflows. So that's really what I aim to do with my company.
Great, thank you so much. And we have another general question, but it's for data science. What would be the best thing to do when trying to get into data science? Anyone want to?
I can answer a little bit on this. I mean, my undergrad was in computer science. I already had some Python and Java and C++ skills and the like. But if you are interested in getting into data science and you're coming from a math background, it's useful to learn a programming language, definitely, especially something like Python, which is basically the industry standard for data science now. What I'd suggest is obviously learn the basics, but then try and apply it to something that you're interested in, not because it's anything you can prove to people you apply to, I have this project or other, but just because it'll drive you to want to learn it more. Yeah.
And I just a reminder, we only have 5 minutes left. So but like if anyone has a specific question for one of the panel, you can ask it in the informal breakout room. And now I'm gonna choose one more general question. There's one asking, how important are internships in securing a place on a graduate scheme? Do they need to be in the same field as a grad scheme you are applying for? Anyone want to chip into this related to the graduate scheme?
I'll just quickly say on that, obviously not from personal experience, but from the GradCracker perspective, we are seeing a trend at GradCracker in terms of probably advertising about 20% more placement opportunities every year on the site. And when we ask our employers why they're offering these positions, a lot of these organisations are using these roles as a recruitment tool to fill the graduate positions. And it's getting quite popular now when we speak to employers that they will do that. So again, it's personal preference at this stage and really doing your research to discover what your interests are and where your interests lie. Because if you did get that placement, fantastic, could potentially mean that you secure a graduate job at the end of it. If you do get that placement, it could mean that, it's a really great way to kind of test drive your career within that industry. Do you like that industry? You might decide, actually, no, I'm really then interested in something else. And that's giving you the driver to give you the confidence to know, actually, I'm really, really interested in this particular industry with this employer. So yeah, so you don't have to do it. It's good if you can do it. It could lead to lots of great things. I'm a massive advocate of doing a placement just because of what I see from the employer's perspective and the benefits personally for you as an individual gain from getting that experience. So yeah, definitely have a look if you're considering it.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
And
I think
sorry
we have sorry.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. I just want to say that we actually have time till 2:10, so we actually have 13 more minutes to ask questions. So, if you want to ask more questions, totally fine, because we have around 30 more minutes.
Cool, thank you. So, the next question is if you want to have better flexibility in finding a job, should you choose other majors besides math, such as business or computer science in your postgraduate studies? Anyone want to answer this question? Yes, Nevin.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer it from my perspective. I think you should really be, from my perspective, I think you should always be thinking about what you want to what appeals to you. So I think companies broadly offer flexibility. The range of, ever since the pandemic, certainly from our perspective, we have a range of flexibility where our company, we say 2 days come into the office, and we also have flexibility around sort of volunteer days or holidays, that sort of thing. So I think it's important to when you're looking for a job, thinking about what appeals to you, what industry appeals to you, or what motivates you, because flexibility will be one thing, and you can always ask that at the interview stage or when you get the job. But I think choosing something that you're interested in should be, from my perspective, the first point of call.
Yes, Fauzi, do you want to add something?
Yeah, just to echo something, well, to kind of add on to that, if by flexibility you mean expanding your range of options for things you can apply for, I think maybe the postgraduate is not really the right place to look for that, because that tends to be when people tend to narrow down rather. And that tends to be actually the real benefit of doing a postgrad degree, not generalization. I mean, math is really very general as an undergrad, so I think you cover a lot of flexible options with a math undergrad. But when you want to think about your postgraduate, it tends to be more fruitful maybe to think about specialization. So say you're interested in climate, you could do a postgrad in climate, climate modeling or climate energy, whatever, right? Renewable energy. And then that can kind of narrow down, but actually give you more opportunity in those kinds of roles, or if you do AI, or if you do whatever it is that you might be interested in.
Yeah, Brandy. Yes, thank you. Do you want to add something, Jess?
Yeah, if possible, because it's just a thought there. I think sometimes students put this pressure on themselves to feel as though they should know everything just yet, and it's okay not to know. We're talking earlier about the different types of graduate opportunities that are out there, whether it be an entry-level role or a graduate program, graduate training program, whatever it may be. And if you are going on to, say, apply to a graduate training program, those opportunities are really geared up to help you to really understand where your passion and your interests lie within that business. So I think as well, remind yourself, these employers aren't expecting you to know everything about that industry, about what's going on technically within the organization just yet. These are early career opportunities. So, a lot of these employers, for example, that are coming to GradCracker, I say at this stage, and some of you might not want to hear this, but I just say they just want a STEM student because of your mindset, because you are great problem solvers, you agile thinkers, as we've heard already from a lot of the panelists today, you can adapt into so many different areas with your mindset and the technical mindset that you have. So again, just use that. Don't put the pressure on yourself to have experience already before you apply. That's what these early career opportunities are all about. These employers know they'll need to train you, they'll need to support you, and they're really geared up for that. You'll have mentors, you'll have if you wanted to become chartered, all this kind of stuff. There's all these things out there that they're going to help and support you with at this early stage. So yeah, I don't know, just don't put the pressure on yourself, I don't think, to have all that experience before you do apply. If that's fair to say.
Thank you. And Ewan, do you want to go for the next one?
Yeah, I just saw one in the Q&A, and someone was asking, people often say that mathematics has a very broad career opportunity field and you could end up basically anywhere. Would you say this is realistically true, or is it still limited to the subject you were involved in? And anyone want to share their experience as a mathematics background? Yes, Hazel?
So if I look at the people that I graduated with, so, kind of over 15 years ago, so there are people that are doing all the traditional paths, such as teaching and finance, and, they're really enjoying their careers. There's also people in the civil service. There are also those that are doing things that are quite sound a bit more unusual. So one guy, I met him recently and I said, oh, what are you doing these days? And he said he's working for a company that's mapping the inside of car parks so that driverless cars can navigate around those car parks. One guy's investigating working in life sciences, looking at genomes, so that some of the people that have transitioned into some of those kind of more niche areas have done further study, so they have done a PhD, and that might be something that you want to look at. But yeah, I would say genuinely that you can go into lots of different things, and it's not just a myth, and actually everybody just does one thing. So yeah.
Cool, thank
Yeah,
you. And I see a question. I'm trying to find a more general question, but well, this should be short. So, do employers take your dissertation work into account when you're applying for your first job? Anyone has any idea on this? Because
I think I might contribute because I've supervised lots of projects for students, and I remember one project I supervised for King's. So my students, they were not at King's really, so it was a third year project, and the student was applying to some fintech company, or one of the big ones. I'm not going to say the name because I'm not sure. Yeah, but I got on to, they did lots of, they went through, I think, 4 steps throughout the application process. 3 of these were interviews. And on the last one, they had to give a presentation, like a pitch for their work. So the project is something, or your dissertation is something that you can brandish and then you can talk proudly of, right? It's your independent work. It shows your ownership, and it kind of reflects your abilities to produce some work independently. Yeah. And the student went on and talked about his work, but although the work did not link directly to the work he would be hired to do, then one senior member of one of the teams found this so interesting that they came back later on. So he was not selected as part of that for the position they were advertising for, they were looking for. But one of the senior members found it so interesting that they thought later on, reached out to them, look, would you like to come and work with us, because you found what you have learned and done for your project so interesting, with so much potential, that we'd like to hear more from you. We don't have that kind of knowledge here, and we'd like to know more. Yeah. So this has also some element of curiosity in there.
thank you. And do you want to just pick the last question, maybe?
Yeah, so very short one. How normal is it to be rejected? I ask as I would sometimes be rejected automatically from one company and be told I did well in other companies. It's about the application process, and I get furious because it's really quite frustrating being rejected. But yes, Nevin?
I can definitely empathize on this one. So from my perspective, I think it is quite normal. You are putting out lots of applications to lots of companies, and it can be challenging, and can, as you're saying, quite frustrating. What I would say, to be frank, for the company that I'm at currently, it took me 3 attempts to get on it. So I tried to get in the grad scheme, wasn't successful, and then applied for different other schemes, and then went on to the entry level role. And I've never looked back. I really feel that I gained so much from it. What I would say is try and ask, whichever it's the same company or whether it's different companies you're asking, try and ask for feedback in terms of what went well and what didn't, so you can use that to inform your future application. So whether that's at the psychometric test stage or whether that's at your first stage interviews or anything like that, do ask for detailed feedback so that you can actually, and written feedback if possible, so that you can use that to inform your future applications. But like I said, you're very early on in your careers. You can use that as an opportunity to inform your future job application. So that would be my advice on that.
Thank you, Nevin. Is anyone else wanna add on this one? Okay, and Wenjin, maybe you can take one last question, then we can move to the breakout room.
Cool, no problem. And I see that a few like panelists are already typing to reply the questions, specific questions. And well, I see a quick question here. So, is the time you apply for a job really important? Like any chance of getting in when you apply approaching the deadline? I think that means like the timeline you apply for a job, right?
I think I think it depends on the role, because for a lot of graduate programs, they don't review anything until all of the applications are in, so it doesn't matter. Like, for example, where I am now at the Bank of England, they open up the applications for the grad scheme, they collect all of the submissions and then they review them, right? Because it's a centralized system and so on. But if it's just one-off roles, then yeah, it does help to get in early, because they tend to be rolling reviews. I mean, what I'd say is apply as early as you can for anything anyway. It doesn't hurt. So.
Yeah, I definitely say that as well. Definitely get your applications in. And then this is what you'll see as well. Maybe the more popular employers, you know, the bigger well-known brands, whether it be like Formula One, for example, those kind of organizations don't need to be open for long because they'll get so many applications. Whereas what we're seeing now as trends quite often, some of these larger companies as well might even have rolling deadlines. So then they might just have an opportunity open and they'll just have a regular intake for that position. So yeah, every employer will be slightly different with their deadlines and things like that. We are seeing a bit of a trend. So this year we were seeing employers open up for their 2025 opportunities as early as July, which was just earlier than we've ever seen before. So I think employers are starting to shift slightly, not necessarily leaving opportunities open as long as they have done in the past. So yeah, exactly what Fozzie just said. You want to get your applications in as early as possible. You don't want to come back in a couple of weeks' time and think, oh, I've missed that, and be in that awkward position where you've missed the chance to get your applications in. Even if the deadline says ongoing, to me, that's a bit of a red flag of they're going to probably, you know, keep it up until they've had a sufficient amount of applications. So yeah, just apply now. I would say this is peak season to get your applications in.
Brilliant. Thank you so much to our panelists for answering those questions. It's not the end of the session, so do please bear with us a moment. I'm just going to quickly flick through our slides. But what we're going to do now is give the opportunity for you to chat in smaller sort of breakout rooms with our panelists. So I saw lots of questions coming in there into our Q&A. If you've got a particular speaker you'd like to ask a question to, or if you want to jump between the rooms and listen to our different speakers, what we'd like you to do, we're going to end this session now and open up our breakout rooms. So you can click onto one of those breakout rooms, join that room, and have the opportunity to speak with our speakers and ask them further questions. We'd really love it to hear your feedback on our session today. So we will be putting a feedback form in the chat of this meeting, and if you could take a moment to fill that in so that we can make sure we improve on these events going forward. But yeah, the breakout rooms are open now, so please do go into those and ask specific questions of our speakers and hear more about their career journeys.